Hey, greetings, fellow music makers. This is Glenn with you tonight, back again with some music creativity tips, Ableton quick tips, perhaps. Tonight, I'm thinking about gated reverb, or perhaps amplitude modulated reverb, or maybe you could call it sidechain reverb in some cases. Long story short, I'm thinking about reverb effects that volume is affected by a source other than just the instrument that's feeding to the input of it. So let me just play this track. This is something I was playing around with, just a little jam, single scene loop again. And I've got this drum effects channel here, and I've got this EP effects channel, and both of these, so you got drums to the left of that channel, and you've got an EP to the left of the effects channel. So these two effects channels are being fed from the tracks to their left, and that's just set up here. Audio from drums, pre-effects. Same thing here. Audio from the Lo-Fi FM EP, pre-effects. Monitoring set in. So that should just be it's just listening to what's coming out of these channels. But on these effects is where I've got some of my amplitude modulated reverb, and we're going to talk about that. So just take a listen to this. Now currently, no reverbs are actually active because I've got this channel off, I've got this channel off, and then also over here in my returns, I've got my auto pan turned off, which we'll explain that later. Great, so that's an idea of what this thing feels like. Kind of just grooving. But the idea here, let me turn off that click, is how can we make this have more feeling, more energy by just changing some volumes on reverb. So the first one I want to start with is this drums effects channel. Essentially, this is just a gated reverb. I've got the gate set up on this effects track after the reverb so that when the track is playing, it's looking at what the reverb is sending. And when the peaks are loud enough, based on the threshold that I've set here, it will open the gate and let that sound through. I also have a little simple delay coming after it just for a little effect and a little bit of EQ. But let's just take a listen to what the drums sound like by themselves. Play that here real quick. Yep, great. A great 707 type drum. Real clean. Now let's listen putting in the drum effects as well. Awesome. Yeah, so again, just a gated reverb. You can see the gate opens for the peaks, but then closes back down for the valleys. Why would I want to do that instead of just having an open drum room reverb? Well, take a listen to this. No gate. It's not bad, but in the mix, sometimes adding that much reverb that just trails on gets in the way. So take a listen. So it's just kind of hanging out there all the time. Putting in the gate just adds a little bit of clarity to your mix, but you still get a nice ambience on your drums. Awesome. Awesome. Love that. That's so good. So that's a basic drum gated reverb. And I'm going to put a link to in the description for a download of this chain that I've got here so that you can just throw it on your drums and give it a try for yourself. Second thing I want to take a look at is, so I've got this Lo-Fi FM EP, essentially electric piano. Sounds like this. It's a mono track. I've actually monoed it myself to kind of accentuate the effect that I'm getting from my effects channel, which again is going to be kind of a gated reverb sound, but I'm achieving it in a different way. So take a listen when I put this in. So with this one, I've got my auto pan set up to not pan, but rather to kind of be an auto tremolo, if you will, with a square wave. I'm sorry, a square wave. That's a triangle. With a triangle wave. And so this one, I just have it set up so that in quarter notes, it's opening and closing, just like a gate would if it was listening to a quarter kick. Some people call this a sidechain because similar to sidechaining a compressor to kind of duck things, the only difference is this is opening and closing a quote-unquote gate, or it's just turning the volume up and down according to that saw wave LFO. So again, why would you use this instead of just leaving your reverb on? You can hear it just starts to get muddy. So put that in the mix. Okay, so right now the reverb is just on. Just kind of muddy. Turn on the auto pan, set up as a sidechain / gated reverb. And you can kind of feel that pulse happening. Pulse. You can see it happening there. Great. So take these two out again. Definitely clearer mix, but also a little bit lifeless. Yeah, definitely better. Awesome. So that's two ways to do something. The last thing I like to do from time to time is I just have a Cathedral Reverb here. A nice, really long, almost a 9-second decay time reverb. Large size, super stereo. I have just taken a utility plug-in here and boosted it 10 dB. And you're hearing it. You've been hearing it. So this reverb is in right now. I just have this auto pan, which is doing the same thing that it was doing on the EP, but in a slightly different way. So if I take this reverb out, super dry. If I take out these effects, everything's dry. Putting these back in, put the reverb back in. Yeah, so now it's big. It's nice and ambient, but it's a little bit in the way. So what did I do different on this auto pan? So before I even enable it, before you even hear it, let me just explain one thing that I did different. So you can see on this one, I called the other one a triangle wave, but rather this is a sawtooth wave, as you can see from the straight up. This one on the EP was a sawtooth wave, but this one on the Cathedral Reverb is, in fact, a triangle LFO that we're listening to here. And the reason I wanted to use this kind of an oscillator on my auto pan, so the way that it kind of tremolos, if you will, is because then this one has a little bit more of a fade. So listen to the difference between this. Let me just solo this for you. So you hear the reverb. There's a little bit of like a fade to it rather than a harsh edge. Right? If I solo just the electric piano reverb, you can hear there's that hard punch on the quarter notes. Pa, pa, pa. And that's because that one uses a sawtooth wave. If you go back to this one, I've got my piano routed into this reverb, and I've got my pad. It's just a square wave pad routed in there. But then I'm modulating the volume, the amplitude of that reverb to get that kind of pulsing effect. So all in, all together, this is what we get. It's a lot more full of life, a lot more energetic, because things are just moving. Things are grooving. You just get a good feel from that. Let me take some of this out so you can hear it completely dry again, and we can just compare. So that's just no ambience. So let's add back our ambience, the reverb. And that one's fading in, kind of a fading in. Then this reverb is pulsing in. And then the drums are gated in. can see it opening and closing right here. So good. So good. I love this effect. 3 different ways of kind of achieving it, of using it, but all of them are really good, really useful and helpful to get just a vibe going on a little track. So hopefully this was helpful. Like I said, I'm going to throw a link in the description to download this preset, the gated drums preset. You should be able to use that in any version of Ableton, I do believe. Yeah, that's great. And so this is one of my favorite things to do. It just adds a lot of life, for sure. So if you like this video, if you like this kind of content, I would so appreciate a thumbs up and a subscription. Also, if you don't like this, I'd like to know why and what types of things you'd like to see. Also, just so appreciate you taking the time to watch this video, and I will see you in the next one.